Hello. I definitely didn't forget that it was past. How are we doing? Definitely didn't just extremely panic that I had run out of time when I was prepping a couple of bits and pieces. How are we doing? How are we feeling? Zandvoort, am I right? Let me get my stream up. I don't know how I do it. I was literally right here. How did I almost miss it? Goodness gracious. Oh, the chat isn't working either. Let me do a quick look. Ah, there we go. Just needs to connect. It's being annoying. We are indeed live. How we doing? Sarah's in the chat. Sally's in the chat. Felipe, TK, Truzul. Is it coming through? It's coming through. There we go. It's on the screen now. How are we all feeling? How are we all doing? I swear if Max doesn't win, better late than never. I was only like a minute late, but I literally was sitting here. I was like, okay, just doing a couple of bits and pieces, loading up a couple of bits, looked across, half past. It's like, oh God, I hadn't loaded anything stream-wise. I was just doing other bits and pieces. But we're there. I haven't got any sound. Why have I not got any sound? Let's have a little look. Formula One, Sunday Grand Prix, the Netherlands. Beautiful. Naomi Schiff. We haven't had a Max win in a while. It's getting towards his longest streak since he's been at Red Bull. I know he won his first race in a Red Bull, so that does help quite a bit, but it's still been a little while, hasn't it, since we've seen Max Verstappen on the top of the podium. Would be nice to have him in front of his fans, especially because the Dutch Grand Prix is no more once we get to the end of this year. Well, this is it, right? Sound is good. Beautiful. Thank you very much. We're there. We're good. We can save that. We can do that later. How about the track? We need the track. Live timings. Where's the track? Show DRS. Yes. Show DRS detection zones. Yes. Show the sectors. No. There we go. How are we all feeling? Oh God, what Sarah said. Special timing. It's not special timings. It's just I get hyper focused on stuff. I was doing some sorting out of things like in this room and on the computer, and I was like putting things in folders and looking at things. Haven't even turned the light on. I was putting things in folders, looking at things, and like adjusting how everything is set up, and just didn't realize the time. Beautiful. Have I got the short stream going? Yes. We've got the Twitch stream going? Yes. Beautiful. We're there. We're ready to go. The Twitch stream does say that we're doing qualifying. Let's change that because it is the Grand Prix itself. Oh, lovely. Shall we get straight into it? I mean, it's going to be an absolute barnstorm of a race, it feels like. I am very much set up for this to be... I keep wanting to see the two McLarens have a proper battle. Doesn't feel like we've had a full-on, wheel-to-wheel, same strategy, same setup, absolutely go for it. Piastri versus Norris battle so far this season. We've had little bits here and there. I know that they bumped into one another in Canada. And I know last time out in Hungary, we almost got a bit of a back and forth. But I feel like it's about time that we get a proper championship battle race, right? And the McLaren's looking so much quicker than everybody else. Feels like they're just going to be in a completely different realm of the track all by themselves in first and second place compared to the Red Bull drivers behind that we'll get to momentarily. But I would really love to see a proper battle for the lead and a proper battle where they do go wheel to wheel. Are the McLaren surviving turn one? That is a good question. I hope so. I hope it's not that kind of battle. I don't want to see a Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton like Monza situation where we've got one car on top of the other. I know that wasn't turn one, but you know what I mean. I don't want to see that kind of coming together between the two McLarens. A nice clean race, but where we do get to see a little bit of interchange for the lead. And actually the two McLarens on the same strategy, because it feels so strange that the McLaren team have allowed that throughout the season so far, that they've just been like, yeah, if Lando wants to go onto the one stop, Oscar's on the two stop, we'll allow that. Even though they've been like the clear first and second fastest cars, if you know what I mean. Like Mercedes, when it was the Hamilton-Rosberg era, they had a clause where it was like, look, we're going to treat this fairly, so you're both going to be on the same strategy each other. And that's the way it'll go. You know, if we end up doing this strategy as a team, that's the strategy both of you will have. If we end up doing this strategy as a team, that's the strategy both of you will have. Whereas the McLarens have had that separation. I think Nico Rosberg even mentioned that, was it Zach Brown or Andreas Stella, where he was in an interview with them and sort of said, you might want to have a little think about that. And apparently, you know, over the break as well, the McLaren team have asked their two drivers how they want to treat the championship battle and how they want to deal with the championship battle when one of them wins it. And the other one, obviously, is going to be in the garage with everybody celebrating and actually not feel the most amazing in the world. Like, I don't know how Mercedes dealt with that, whether they would have, maybe they had that talk but didn't talk about it openly. But yeah, it must have been tough, you know, Hamilton when Rosberg won it or Rosberg when Hamilton won it, because you are just sort of watching literally everybody else in the team celebrate, apart from maybe you and maybe your engineer and in your family, and that's about it. Think there's going to be rain. It's forecast. It's looking grey, but I wouldn't say it's looking very, very rainy. Shall we get to your predictions, actually? Because we're only 20 minutes away from the start of the race. Maybe we should start these streams earlier. I don't know if half an hour is enough. We've got so many little things to talk about as we go into the race. Your predictions, though, every Monday on a race week. So, for instance, tomorrow, if you want to get your predictions in for the Italian Grand Prix in Monza, you will be able to do so tomorrow morning when that goes live. And you get to predict your winner, your podium, your surprise of the race. That's a positive surprise. We're positive about the surprises. The best team. So which team is going to have the best weekend? Everyone usually goes for the obvious, but you know, go out there, try another best team, go a little bit rogue, whatever word I'm trying to find. Struggle and flop team, they're the negatives, they're the bad boys. And in terms of your predictions, when it came to the Netherlands Grand Prix, and I'm going to say there was percentage points in it, like it was very, very close indeed, but this is what you guys had as your full predictions for it. So I've just realized that the predictions are not on the short stream for some reason. Give me a second. Apologies, guys that are watching on the shorts. Come join us in the mainstream, though. I feel like the mainstreams, there's a little bit more going on. Oops. Well, now I've just broken it. There we go. Here we go. Bang. It's on the short stream. We'll deal with that later. Beautiful. So these were your predictions when it came to the form. As I say, this is not necessarily your exact predictions, but this is the conglomeration of the community that we have here. Nearly 150,000 of us, getting very close towards 135,000 subscribers at this point. I think over 1,000 people putting their name in the bag when it came to the predictions this week. Winner You guys went for Lando Norris. Starting behind Oscar Piastri. We all kind of thought it was going to be Norris on pole, though. Felt like he had the slight advantage going into qualifying. But again, Oscar Piastri just finding those, 12 thousandths of a second. It was very, very tight between the two of them. Oh, Sebastian, thank you for the super chat. $10 super chat. Amazing. My predictions is a double Williams points finishers. Oh, I am. Oof. I was just having a little look. Carlos Sainz already starting in the points. I couldn't remember where Albon was. 15th Albon. Could he do it from 15th? He's done very well this season, but he hasn't been feeling incredibly comfortable inside of that Williams car this weekend. I'd be surprised. But thank you for the super chat. I'll be screaming for Alex Albon if you can get up into that top 10 position, and Carlos Sainz obviously stay there. Love to see a double Williams finish. Would the regulations change? Could solidify the 2026 season for McLaren? More time to give to the new regulations as the car has bare minimum flaws for 2025. Williams, Aston, other teams. To be honest, I think it's going to be a real mix-up once again. You know, going into 2022, you could say, well, Mercedes and Red Bull were the fastest cars in 2021. Red Bull maintained that. Mercedes fell off. So we could just see from that, you know, the change from 2021 into 2022, that a regulation change sometimes goes well for teams, sometimes goes badly for teams. Mercedes really fell off throughout this era, you could say, compared to the last era in Formula One, where they were the most dominant team we've ever seen. Versus Red Bull, who kind of built on 2021 and actually turned into, well, maybe the most dominant one-season car that we've seen from Max Verstappen in 2023. But then it also allowed the other teams to develop and kind of gain. I feel like Formula One is as close as it has ever been throughout the field, especially when it comes to qualifying times right now. But yeah, good question. Surprise, you guys have gone for Kimi Antonelli, just starting outside of the points. It was a little bit of a disappointing qualifying for him. The tiniest of errors through the chicane. I mean, he only missed out, 200ths of a second between him dropping out and getting into Q3. So certainly points on the board, or points available for Kimi Antonelli to get them on the board this weekend. Can certainly do something from where he's qualified, but little bit disappointing. I think it's going to be tough to overtake. He's going to have to do something a bit special. And obviously, if there is then some raindrops falling on the track, he's going to need to deal with that as well. Like, this is a tough track when you're coming to it for the first time. And especially if it then starts to rain. We've seen some big high-profile drivers make some errors here. And Kimi Antonelli, still very, very young indeed, I think is what we need to remember. Best team, you've gone for McLaren. Every weekend feels like we just go for McLaren. Come on, give it a mix. Go rogue. Struggle, gone for Franco Colapinto. It wasn't great, was it, yesterday in qualifying? The Alpine car not looking amazing, although the Haas looking kind of slower than the Alpine this weekend, surprisingly. Wasn't expecting the Haas to be the absolute worst car coming into this weekend, but really falling off the paces. Ocon and Behrman are going to have a really tough weekend. Feels like they could be the flop, really, the Haas team. But you guys have gone for Ferrari. Felt like yesterday it was going to get very tight indeed. We were worried about Leclerc and Hamilton making it through to Q2 and then into Q3, but they did manage to do it. They qualified just behind sort of the main bulk of cars you'd imagine being in front of them. Oops. I suppose other than Isaac Hadjar sneaking into the top 5 there, but Leclerc and Hamilton about where you'd expect them to be, just behind the Red Bull of Verstappen and the Mercedes of Russell. That's kind of been the order. Well, the Drivers' Championship tells us that that's kind of been the order. It's been the two McLarens separated out from Verstappen and Russell, kind of find themselves very often fighting for that podium place. Charles Leclerc occasionally gets in there into the podium positions, and Lewis Hamilton kind of slots in just behind. And the Drivers' Championship tells us exactly that. But yeah, Kimi Antonelli, 64 points as well, 10 points ahead of Alex Albon. So if we are going to get a double Williams points finish, Alex Albon might be able to close that gap in on Kimi Antonelli, which would be quite interesting, because I think, you know, best of the rest. Finishing in front of one of the Red Bulls is already pretty impressive, although Tsunoda all the way down at 18th at the moment. Finishing in front of a Mercedes would also be a very, very solid year from Alex Albon, and just put a cherry on top of the cherry, really. So 2 cherries on Alex Albon's ice cream of the 2025 season. Both Charles had a slow. Really hope Russell beats Max. Oof. Just having a little look at the chat, seeing what's coming through. Do you think rain will play a role? And what do you think rain might change in the race? I mean, rain is always just, it depends when it falls, right? If it falls just after everybody is already pitted, then it becomes absolute chaos because they have to pit again. If it falls in and around where everybody's already like done their first stop, or everybody's sort of just about to do their first stop, is when some have stopped, some have not. The rain then comes, the order is already shook up, and then they have to sort of interpret when to go onto the intermediates, when to maybe go back onto the slicks if it starts to dry up a little bit later as well. That's where the chaos comes from, is the strategy calls, and the fact that if the rain falls when the strategy is a little bit out, it can be really tough for the teams to adapt their strategies to that position. Oh, Sebastian again with the $10 super chat. Thank you so much. Double McLaren DNF, Isaac Hadjar podium finish. Not impossible. Isaac Hadjar, like, just to talk about him for a second, what a stunning qualifying once again. He is making Q3 his absolute mainstay, isn't he? Like, just a stunning lap from Isaac Hadjar. And I was going to have a look at, actually, if we have a gander, and I was going to have a look at Hadjar versus Verstappen's fastest laps in qualifying. Let me show you, because it was actually pretty interesting reading. Let's make Hadjar pink. Oh, that's the preview. There we go. Yeah, Hadjar versus Verstappen's fastest lap in qualifying. It's interesting that the RB car, so much traction out of the hairpin-like corners. Like, turn 1 just gets out of it. Exits and entrances into the hairpinny corners is where the RB car was kind of really coming to the fore. Obviously, I know it's very, very difficult to beat Max Verstappen at any point, but just the comparisons there, he was still 2.5 tenths off, so didn't beat him in many areas of the track. But I thought it was just interesting that the RB car has such good traction out of these sort of chicane, hairpinny corners. Obviously, Verstappen then eventually gets the better of it, and by the time they get to the next braking zone, Verstappen is ahead and faster. But just an interesting fact there. And I thought Isaac Hadjar did an exceptional job to kind of keep up with Verstappen. Verstappen does have the straight line speed advantage. I think that Red Bull car just quicker in a straight line, as you can see. But then Hadjar kind of keeping up with Max for the most part. In fact, was ahead of Max coming out of the first sector in terms of lap time. But then through exit of turn 3, although got it right, as I say, those hairpins were where the RB car really kind of came to the fore, turn 1, turn 3. Then that middle sector, Max Verstappen then just, dominates a little bit. He does it, get his nose ahead there, Isaac Hadjar, into turn 12. But I think that's just because he broke really late into turn 12. And actually, when Max Verstappen comes out of turn 12 through 13 and 14, Hadjar is already 2 tenths, a tenth and a half, then gaining up to 2.5 tenths until the end. But very, very impressed with Isaac Hadjar, I do have to say. I thought he did a very good job. Don't know why this is cut off at the bottom. Did a very good job in terms of qualifying yesterday. We can also have a little look at the battle for pole position whilst we're here, because it was oh so tight. And I think, people are saying, oh, well, they didn't improve in their second laps, blah, blah, blah. But actually, the battle was so incredibly close that they probably both tried a little bit too hard in those second laps. So looking at Norris and Piastri here, Piastri does have the advantage straight away. Like, Piastri straight away quicker through the first sector. So, you can see here, this is their delta time. So Norris's time falling below Piastri's in this first part of the lap, just before turn 4. But then as we go into that middle sector, Lando Norris does have the advantage. And Lando Norris actually makes up the time that he lost in the first sector and gets ahead of Piastri all the way up into turn 9, turn 10. So like turn 9, turn 10, again, is sort of the turning point for it. Because you can see here, Piastri quicker out of turn 10, then gives him the advantage. Norris quicker through turn 12, but Piastri just has the better run out of the final couple of corners. And the straight line speed advantage as well. And it is milliseconds, 12 thousandths of a second. But you can just see where it was won and lost. So Norris had the advantage through the first sector. Piastri had the advantage through the first sector. Then it switched. Norris had the advantage through the second sector. Gained. Was about a tenth of a second quicker than Oscar Piastri as they came out of the second sector. And then bang, it turns all over again. Piastri gets that turn 10 right. Norris maybe makes a little bit of an error. You can see just gets on the throttle a little bit later than Piastri going out of turn 10, and also gets off the throttle a little bit later into turn 10, and then is on the throttle a little bit later out of turn 10 as well. And then Oscar Piastri has that slight advantage. It is slight. It is, again, like a tenth of a second. They go into turn 11. Lando Norris, a little mistake maybe into turn 11. Just a sort of spike of throttle where Piastri has a little bit more. Gains Piastri a bit of time, taking a slightly different line through turn 11 and out of turn 12. And then Piastri just with the straight line speed advantage. Norris actually still ahead as they come around turn 13 and is the tiniest little bit. They come around turn 13. DRS is open for both of them. And Piastri just has that better slingshot and it just closes that gap. Closes. As they exit turn 14 is where it swaps. Goes from Norris having the advantage to Piastri having the advantage. And it is so incredibly tight. Like, both of them will come away from that qualifying thinking, I gave absolutely everything. There was nothing more in the tank. Absolutely nothing I can do about the fact that my teammate has beaten me to pole position there, because he's done everything that he could have. Piastri picked up a most minor of a toe. I did see that as well. Yeah, it was Isaac Hadjar ahead of him, wasn't it? Coming out of turn 14. Would that have made the difference? That it was very, very minor toe. But it's very, very minor advantages, isn't it? So ridiculously close between both McLaren drivers. They can both come away from it saying they gave absolutely everything and it could have easily gone one way or the other. I think in terms of their maximum delta times, I did have it. Like the maximum possible times they could have done. I think Piastri was still the man to beat. Let me see. Yeah, there it is. Oops. Why does it keep doing that? It just keeps cropping off the bottom of everything. There we go. Yeah, Oscar Piastri's ultimate lap time and Lando Norris's ultimate lap time. Again, 12 thousandths of a second between... sorry, less than that. 6 thousandths of a second between them. But both of them just within that realm of ridiculousness, both of which broke the track record as well. So new track record for Zandvoort, should have mentioned. Oscar Piastri now holding that. Max Verstappen 2021 set the track record. It was a 1:8.8. And obviously Piastri and Norris getting into the 1:8.6s. So now the quickest lap that we have ever seen on the Netherlands track. Is the race going to be shown? Yes, indeed. We'll show the race when we get there. What else was I reading? Oh, yeah, the pit lane speed increase. Wanted to mention pit lane speed increase from 60 to 80 kilometers an hour. So that makes the pit stops just that little bit shorter here in Zandvoort. So that also might play into the strategy. Although it does feel like the one stop has become the real go-to, doesn't it? You know, we've seen a few races in recent weekends where they've gone for the 2-stop, and the 1-stop was clearly the point. So maybe we'll see it go the other way now. We're going to see lots of people go for the 1-stop, but maybe the 2-stop becomes a little bit better because you're sort of going against the grain a touch. And with those slightly shorter pit stops, I think Piastri and Norris both have a set of new mediums and new hards. So they should be fine. They've only got used set of soft compound tires. If we do get rain, then they need to go onto the softs right at the end. So Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris, interesting that they've kind of kept those tires and not got a fresh set of softs. Although I don't think anyone has got a fresh set of softs apart from Verstappen. There you go. Verstappen, fresh set of soft compound tires. So if there is rain and they get then the drying track and can go on to a fresh set of softs at the end of the Grand Prix, that's when Verstappen could really come to fore, because everybody else, of course, Kimi Antonelli had a fresh set of softs, and the guys that qualified outside of the top 10 have fresh sets of soft compound tires. But Max Verstappen, the only driver inside of the top 10 with a fresh set of soft compound tires. Everybody else looking at most likely mediums and hards. Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton as well, using their hard compound tires. So they're going to be slightly scrubbed sets. We've seen that a couple of times, but slightly scrubbed sets of there as well. Oh, Kelly, yeah. Thank you, Kelly, for explaining that. Obviously, I can't show the actual race unless you want to sort of super chat me. I don't even want to know what Sky pay for the broadcast rights of Formula One. It's got to be a considerable amount, I'd imagine. But I do not have the money to have the broadcasting rights for Formula One, unfortunately. Final thing, 72 laps of the Grand Prix ahead of us. It's a bit of a weird track, really, isn't it? Very short, but obviously not too many overtaking opportunities. I don't think we'll see very much going down into turn 1. It's quite a short run down into turn 1. So maybe we'll see some overtaking sort of going into lap 3, lap 4 when the DRS comes into play. But that depends on whether or not Norris or Piastri is holding on to the back of the other by whoever it is there. Is our membership starting up? Your memberships are very much appreciated, Kelly. I don't know. But I don't know. Look, you can message Sky F1, see if they're willing to do a deal. I'd be more than happy to show the real race. Here we go then. The formation lap is underway. Shall we move to the detailed racing board for you? Oh, don't know why that's got a little thing around it. Why is my driver radio messages not working? Radio transcriptions. There we go. Bada bing, bada boom. But we are there. Formation lap is underway. Oscar Piastri leading the McLarens around the Zandvoort circuit. Max Verstappen third place behind. Isaac Hadjar starts in fourth place after a stunning qualifying from him. I think it's the third time that he's been in Q3 in a row. He's just made himself a mainstay in Q3 now as Isaac Hadjar. Seems almost inevitable that he'll be part of that pack. George Russell starting just behind him in the Mercedes. Could say the same about him. Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton start side by side again. The Ferraris do seem to always find themselves just behind the Mercedes of George Russell, don't they? Liam Lawson started inside of the top 10 as well. Wonderful, wonderful sort of building into the season for Liam Lawson. Really good interview with him from Karun Chandok, actually. That was very insightful into his time at Red Bull. Well worth checking out if you haven't seen it already. Where he talked about the pressure that is there and the fact that he was maybe a little bit naive as to how much time he would get inside of that Red Bull to be able to get performances from it. Although we haven't really seen the new Red Bull driver in that second seat in Yuki Tsunoda perform too much better. Carlos Sainz starts in ninth place. Fernando Alonso starts inside of the points after what felt like it was going to be a very strong weekend from Aston Martin. Just kind of plateaued as we got into qualifying, didn't it? Maybe he can do a little bit more when it comes to the Grand Prix. Max Verstappen starting on those soft compound tyres that I mentioned, by the way. I thought they were maybe there as a bit of a strategy for him to use if it rained. But no, Max Verstappen deciding to take the initiative inside of that Red Bull car and use those soft compound tyres straight off the bat. We'll see what he can do with those starting in third place. Kimi Antonelli, Yuki Tsunoda start on the 6th row of the grid, just outside of the point scoring places for those two. They'll be looking at where their teammates are and hoping that they can close that gap. Gabriel Bortoleto once again got the better of Nico Hülkenberg in qualifying. He's now 9-6 up in terms of qualifying against his very experienced teammate. Pierre Gasly starts beside him in 14th spot. Alex Albon starts in 15th. Williams, tough weekend for Williams. Well, Alex Albon's side of the garage, at least, as Carlos Sainz getting through to Q3 where Albon did not. Colapinto, Hülkenberg, Ocon and Stroll starting behind. Ollie Behrman starting from the pit lane as we see him peel into the pit lane as we're about to go. Green flag at the back of the pack is waved. Oscar Piastri sees the 5 red lights illuminate in front of him. And here we go. Formula One is back, ladies and gentlemen. 10 races of the 2025 season to go. And it's the 2 McLaren drivers that are side by side. Max Verstappen tries to get involved. He goes around the outside of turn 1 as Max Verstappen. He's trying to get the run at Lando Norris into P2. Lando Norris comes up the inside of turn 1 though. And Max Verstappen still going for it. Nearly loses his Red Bull. Under braking into turn 3, but Verstappen is up into 2nd place. That's the boost that he's got from starting on those soft compound tyres. Lando Norris under the rear wing of the 4-time world champion straight away though. Isaac Hadjar holding off the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc. Leclerc's up into 5th place. Russell down into 6th. Hamilton still in 7th place. It is Lawson, Sainz and Albon all the way up into P10. An absolutely bombing start for Alex Albon in and amongst the midfield. Yuki Tsunoda and Fernando Alonso fighting it out with Kimi Antonelli. Antonelli trying to hold on to that position, just about does, in front of Fernando Alonso, who's dropped to 13th place. Colapinto up to 15th place as well. It was chaos behind the scenes, and Alex Albon just absolutely romping through the field from 15th up into 10th place. There you go, Sebastian. There's your double Williams point scoring finish. It's lap 1 of 72 though. They've got a little while to hold on to it. We start lap 2 with Oscar Piastri leading the pack, Verstappen behind him, Lando Norris in 3rd place. Oh my goodness, Charles Leclerc has a little look at Isaac Hadjar and nearly finds the rear wing of the RB car. Holds on to 5th place for now though, Charles Leclerc, as George Russell hunting in behind as well. Hamilton and Lawson 7th and 8th behind. And Oscar Piastri now just trying to get himself outside of that DRS range. 1.5 seconds the gap to Max Verstappen behind. Lando Norris then in 3rd spot, also outside of DRS range of Verstappen, as Verstappen caused Lando Norris a bit of a headache here, because Lando Norris now having to deal with Max Verstappen. It is very 2024 vibes, isn't it? Where Lando Norris just feels like he should be ahead of Max Verstappen, but isn't. it's once again Verstappen in front of Norris. Isaac Hadjar has done a stunning job there to keep into 4th position. He had a lot of cars in and around him. He was watching that battle of Norris and Verstappen in front of it. Would have seen Verstappen nearly lose it in the braking zone for turn 3, but that didn't put him off, and he's held on to 4th place for now. Goodness me. Alex Albon, take a bow, by the way. I need to see a replay of that, because Albon flying into 10th place. I was watching Max Verstappen at that point, but I want to see how Alex Albon jumped 5 positions at the beginning of this Grand Prix. Nico Hülkenberg making a move on Esteban Ocon up into 16th place. Gabriel Bortoleto, the biggest loser so far. He dropped 5 positions from 13th down to 18th. Alex Albon gaining those 5 positions. Alonso dropped down 3 positions as well into 13th spot. Great start from Verstappen. It was a really, really good start from Verstappen. That's the benefit of starting on those soft compound tyres. You could just see just straight off the line, had the more grip, got that torque into the tyres, into the tarmac, and he was away. And Piastri on the radio, we expect Class 1 rain for 8 minutes around lap 7. May not quite require the intermediate tyre, but if they're out there on the slicks and it starts to get a little bit slippery, Safety cars, red flags. They're certainly up for grabs today. Max Verstappen now 1.8 seconds off the lead of this Grand Prix. Lando Norris another 1.5 behind. The problem is we're going to see quite a few drivers in a little bit of a DRS train, because the DRS here is the only real overtaking opportunity down towards turn 1, in my opinion. You can kind of launch an overtake down into turn 11 if you're really feeling it. But turn 1 feels like that where you've really got to start that overtaking attempt. And it's going to be pretty tight because everybody's going to be having that toe right now. Everybody's got that DRS right now. We kind of need the grid to elongate a little bit before we understand the true pace of everybody and where they're sitting. Isaac Hadjar still sitting in 4th spot. Yeah, podium's certainly up for grabs. Well, Isaac Hadjar, certainly if we see a Piastri-Verstappen battle or a Verstappen-Norris battle, we've seen Verstappen and Norris come together. Just remember Austria last year where they wiped into one another. Lando Norris ending up out of that race. Verstappen ended up finishing 5th. That would certainly open the door for Isaac Hadjar to get a podium at this point. He is looking fairly comfortable ahead of Charles Leclerc. Leclerc does have the DRS behind him, but he's holding him off at an arm's length, coming down in towards turn 1. Isaac Hadjar still looking very comfortable indeed as we are in lap 5 of this Grand Prix. Let's just see a little replay of this start then. Just trying to look where Alex Albon is. Peels to the right-hand side of the track, does Alex Albon. Just sort of sweeps around the outside of 2 or 3 cars, does Albon. And then Max Verstappen, goodness me, gets on the dirty part of the track. How on earth Max Verstappen held onto that Red Bull? Now seeing it again, he was way more out of control than I initially thought. Gets onto the dirty part of the outside of turn 2, trying to wrestle with that Red Bull car and just about holds on to it on the entrance to turn 3. Swoops up round turn 3. Verstappen then closing the door on Lando Norris as well. Let's see the onboard of it. Outside, he's fully committed. Goodness me, what a snap that was. Oh my goodness me. Gathers that Red Bull car through turn 3. Verstappen, a very lucky boy not to be. Oh, and Bortoletto, really, really slow getaway. That's where he fell away. Standing still whilst everybody ran past him, unfortunately for the Brazilian. Having a battle with Lance Stroll, but is now down in 19th place. What's happened? Max Verstappen's moved up into 2nd place, probably the biggest talking point so far. Looking at Franco Colapinto's on board. He's fighting with his teammate, and Colapinto does get the move done on Pierre Gasly. He's up into 14th spot. Charles Leclerc has the track limits. Oops. Just got rid of it. Good job. Track limits violation. Turn 3 on lap 2, Charles Leclerc. And a few investigations underway. Bortoletto and Stroll, incident involving them at turn 11, noted for causing a collision. So getting very tasty between Bortoletto and Stroll for 18th and 19th place. Here we go then. The rain expected, and Oscar Piastri's engineer said it would be right about now. We are lap 7 of this Grand Prix. Are we going to start to see the rain come? At the moment, the radar says no. As you can see at the top of your screens, just to the right-hand side of where it's got the lap time counter. But they are looking at the lap times. Oscar Piastri starting to escape away. The problem that Norris now has is he is quicker than Verstappen. He's closing into the back of Max Verstappen, but you can see through this middle sector, there's just nowhere for Lando Norris to make an overtaking attempt. And Piastri is just starting to wing away from that. A 1:15.2 from Piastri last time around to a 1:15.7 from Verstappen. So Verstappen now nearly 4 seconds adrift. Lando Norris then another second behind that. So we're starting to see that gap elongate at the top of the standings for Oscar Piastri. But Lando Norris now looking at it. Verstappen, the problem that he's going to have on these soft compound tyres, it's all well and good getting that extra boost off the start line. Charles Leclerc also has a little look at Isaac Hadjar. As I was saying with Max Verstappen, it's all well and good getting that initial burst off the start line with the soft compound tyres, but they are going to start to turn on you quicker than the medium tyres would, and maybe Verstappen gambling on a little bit of rain coming his way fairly soon, because Lando Norris on the medium tyre closing in on Max Verstappen's rear wing. Charles Leclerc also deciding that now is the time to have a little look at Isaac Hadjar as well. Charles Leclerc has been able to escape George Russell's DRS range and is right under the rear wing of the RB car. This is going to be a real test for Isaac Hadjar. He's fighting with the real sharks of the grid now. Charles Leclerc, George Russell, Lewis Hamilton behind them, all race winners, all multiple podiums in their career as well. Hamilton, of course, over 100 victories in Formula One. Isaac Hadjar in his first season of the sport. Let's see how he does there. Liam Lawson, his teammate, also having a stunning weekend behind, just behind Hamilton by a second and a half. He's escaped away from Carlos Sainz and Alex Albon. RB looking for a double points finish. And here we go then. Lando Norris having a look at Max Verstappen around the outside of turn one. He goes, and Lando Norris is going to get ahead. And he finally gets that move back. It's taken him 9 laps, but he's back ahead of Verstappen once again. Really lovely move from Lando Norris as well. DRS out of turn 14, down towards turn 1, puts himself around the outside of Verstappen. And Lance Stroll pits for the hard compound tyre. So Aston Martin clearly think that the rain is not going to come. They're going very long indeed on those hard compound tyres by the looks of things. Lando Norris on the radio. Nice job. Let's go get Oscar is the call. 4.5 seconds now the gap between the two McLarens. Piastri leading Lando Norris. Verstappen has fallen away from Lando Norris, and it was just a really nice, got the toe down towards turn 1. Max Verstappen peeled to the inside, tried to cover the inside of turn 1, so Lando Norris said, no worries, I'll go around the outside then. Max tried to squeeze him, but he was already alongside, and Norris had that position signed, sealed and delivered. Up into second place in this Grand Prix goes Lando Norris. Verstappen now. Oh no, sorry, that's Yuki Tsunoda under pressure from Kimi Antonelli. I was like, where on earth has Russell come from? It's Kimi Antonelli versus Yuki Tsunoda for 11th place at the moment. And Antonelli looking the strongest on pace. Antonelli within half a second of Yuki Tsunoda as they go around the first couple of corners. Just having a little look at the Red Bull, but not able to make a move yet. Still both outside of the point scoring places for now. Trying to get into the top 10 at least to get some points on the board. We talked about it beforehand. Alex Albon closing in on Kimi Antonelli for 7th place in the driver's standings. And at this moment in time, Albon would gain a point to where Antonelli would not. Closes in even more. Charles Leclerc also in the hunt behind Isaac Hadjar. DRS open in that Ferrari car. Just feels like the straight line speed of the RB is more than enough at the moment to keep the Ferrari at bay. Charles Leclerc getting the DRS, getting the toe down towards turn 1, but absolutely nowhere near getting past Isaac Hadjar at this moment in time. What happened to Stroll? Pitted. He pitted. That is why he's 14.5 seconds off the back of Ollie Behrman, although now down to 13 seconds. So closing in is Lance Stroll. But yeah, he pitted very early indeed. So Aston Martin clearly thinking that there is no rain to come. And at the moment, the radar does still say no. Piastri was told on the radio it would be around about lap 7. We have gone well beyond lap 7 now, lap 11 of this Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc getting closer and closer to the rear end of that Red Bull. Hadjar has a high downforce setup. In the mixed conditions is faster. Exactly. he will have that advantage over the Ferrari, especially if the rain does eventually come, but he's doing just enough to hold off the Ferrari for now. And here we go, Charles Leclerc looking at Isaac Hadjar again. He's closing in. His Charles Leclerc just doesn't quite have that final tenth of pace to be able to get right up beside Isaac Hadjar, as we saw from Lando Norris say when he made the move on Max Verstappen. Hadjar just closing the door and falling away. It's causing Charles Leclerc a bit of a headache, because I think Charles Leclerc probably could have been battling with Max Verstappen had he been able to get past Isaac Hadjar a little bit earlier. But Hadjar doing the job, and Hadjar making that Red Bull car as wide as it can possibly be. Sorry, Racing Bull's car. Shouldn't say Red Bull. Racing Bull's car. As wide as it can possibly be. Lando Norris, fastest lap of the Grand Prix so far. 2/10 quicker than his teammate, and now less than 4 seconds between the two. Ooh. Ollie Behrman, I'm a bit scared about Bortoletto's front wing. So there's clearly some damage done to the front wing of that Stake Sauber car. Maybe that's why Lance Stroll decided to come in. They just wanted to check that Aston Martin over as well. Kimi Antonelli still closing in to the back of Yuki Tsunoda for 11th place. He's just so close. I think the problem is, like, going down towards turn 1 is clearly the overtaking opportunity, but you have to have such an advantage because you don't get the launch out of turn 13, 14 that maybe we were expecting. And the pace differential you need to really get side by side with someone down in towards turn 1 is quite considerable. You know, you're looking at Norris right now. He is flying in comparison to Max Verstappen's time. He's nearly a second. He is over a second quicker than Max Verstappen last lap. Oh, has the rain arrived? Possibly. Tyres could be critical this race. Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's going to be a strategy race, especially if the rain does eventually come. But at the moment, there's no rain. Here we go. Kimi Antonelli going down. Yuki Tsunoda. Yuki Tsunoda's just got the positioning down in towards turn 1 and a little bit extra in the straight line. So Antonelli's just not quite got enough to get properly alongside him. Oh, there is a bit of front wing on the track. Is that Gabriel Bortoletto's front wing? Lance Stroll drives straight over it. Piastri, 3.3 seconds now the gap. Lando Norris clearly leaning on those tyres a little bit more than his teammate, but it's to his benefit. He's 0.4 of a second quicker than Oscar Piastri in that last lap. 15 laps completed, still a long way to go. 58 Grand Prix laps still to run. And Lando Norris 3 seconds adrift of Piastri. Is Piastri just holding onto his tyres that little bit more? Or has Lando Norris got the pace advantage over his teammate? We'll have to wait and see when they get a little bit closer, or possibly see when they decide to pit. It's going to be a bit of a gamble for anybody who pits early on in this Grand Prix. Isaac Hadjar, 2 seconds off the back of Max Verstappen. Verstappen, by the way, now 8 seconds adrift of Lando Norris. What does Charles Leclerc have a violation for? That would be track limits. It was a track limits violation for Charles Leclerc. But unless he gets a good few more, that won't really come into play. Oh, and there is where that front wing end plate did come off of Ollie Behrman's car. And Lando Norris even ran over that little bit of debris. You can easily pick up a puncture there. It's a little bit suspect. It's still out there. Race control. Bortoleto being told possibly racing in an unsafe condition. And Franco Colapinto told on the radio to swap positions. So he is back behind Pierre Gasly once again. Gasly in 14th spot after Colapinto did get that position on merit. But the team deciding they're going to swap positions. Ooh. Charles Leclerc just being told to lift and coast a little bit. Zach Brown holding his hand outside of the pit box to try and feel what the weather is doing. Usually Oscar gains on Lando. Now it's the opposite. Lando closing in. It's 3 seconds now. Less so on the last lap, though. In fact, slightly slower on the last lap, Lando Norris. 15.2s from both of the McLaren cars. So Piastri maybe just managing his tyres that little bit more. And now Lando Norris not quite having the tyres that his teammate does. Kimi Antonelli getting closer and closer to Tsunoda and still not able to get quite enough going into turn one is Kimi Antonelli. Yuki Tsunoda just holding on to 11th spot for now. Albon and Sainz a distance up the road, actually. The gap between Albon and Tsunoda up to 3.5 seconds. How long has Hadjar held off Leclerc? Basically since the start of the Grand Prix, really. Charles Leclerc has been right up there with Isaac Hadjar for the entirety. Leclerc now being told to lift and coast a little bit to cool down the engine of that Ferrari because he's just been underneath that rear wing and in the dirty air of the RB car for the entirety of the Grand Prix. Now having to hold off a touch, and Isaac Hadjar is going to just get a little bit of breathing room. Probably not for long, though. I'd imagine Charles Leclerc is waiting for that opportunity to get the run at him once again. Gabriel Bortoleto now under investigation for driving in an unsafe condition. It's that same one again. So unsafe condition noted for Gabriel Bortoleto and under investigation right now from the stewards. Piastri versus Norris has maintained itself at 3 seconds now. Another lap completed by both of them. Just coming around the final sector now. We'll see what that gap falls down to. But I think Piastri just held onto his tyres that little bit better. Gave Norris the chance to close the gap by a second or so. But now, Lando Norris there once again. And Lando Norris looking much, much quicker for that opening bit of the stint. Now looking like Piastri has the advantage in this later part of the stint. Lap 19 of the Grand Prix. Antonelli once again having a look at Tsunoda. And once again being stopped. Oh, as we see here, Aston Martin, Fernando Alonso deciding to come on into the pits. And Alonso committing to swapping tyres. So the Aston Martin team in particular really don't think that that rain is going to come. And, you know, even if it is just a light shower, you can stay out on those slick tyres. It's when it really starts to fall that the intermediates have to come into play. But Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso, the first two drivers to have pitted, both of the Aston Martin cars going onto the hard compound tyre as well. Alonso has come out behind his teammate as well. So Lance Stroll has been going, well, a lot quicker than the cars in front of him over those last few laps. Been running in lovely clean air as Lance Stroll. Problem is he's now catching up to the back of Ollie Behrman and Gabriel Bortoleto, which is going to halt Lance Stroll considerably. Lando Norris holding on to the rear tyres, he says over the radios. That gap has just started to eke out once again. Piastri 3.3 seconds, now the gap. And here comes Red Bull. Is it Yuki Tsunoda? It is indeed Tsunoda into the pits. And the hard compound tyres onto Tsunoda as well. Has to wait a little bit for some traffic as Colapinto and Hülkenberg also make their way down the pit lane as well. And I think this is in reaction to Fernando Alonso, really. Nico Hülkenberg coming out just behind Colapinto. Oh, got very close at the exit of the pit lane there. But Hülkenberg has to slot in behind the Alpine. And there comes the rain. Can see some light drops just falling onto the track now. In the pit lane, Zach Brown confirming that that's happening. All of those cars that have just swapped onto the hard compound tyre are hoping and praying that this rain is only light. Stroll, Alonso, Tsunoda, Colapinto and Hülkenberg have now swapped onto the hard compound tyre. Stroll, 11 laps ago. Can you get closer to the car ahead? Lando Norris being asked if he's got a little bit more pace inside of that car. Lando Norris, 3.5 seconds now. The gap has fallen adrift. It was 3 seconds, now 3.5. So under pressure, Lando Norris from his team to just close that gap back up to Oscar Piastri a touch. Goodness me. It is raining, but it's still drizzly. It's light. It's not causing anyone any issues as of yet. And nobody blinking. Nobody's gambling on intermediate set of tyres or anything like that at this point. Still very light rain indeed. Lewis Hamilton now the only driver inside of the top 10 with DRS at this moment. He is 0.7 of a second behind George Russell. Everybody else has sort of settled into a rhythm, I think, just to end this first period of the race, because we have a lot of strategy decisions and calls to be made at this point. We can see that Lance Stroll was so much quicker on those fresh hard compound tyres when he got them on. But Lance Stroll now has caught up to the back of Ollie Behrman and is in a little bit of traffic. Problem is Behrman has got DRS to Bortoleto ahead as well. Bortoleto still running around with that broken front wing. So not too much that Lance Stroll can really gain from that position. And Alonso, Tsunoda, Colapinto, Hülkenberg all following around, having pitted early on as well. Hamilton on the radio. Definitely have to undercut these guys, says Lewis Hamilton. So he wants to come in, you'd imagine, fairly soon if he's going to try and undercut George Russell in front of him. Mercedes aren't going to want to let that happen. The undercut, Lewis Hamilton thinks, is going to be the stronger suit. As I say, we saw Lance Stroll, his lap times come down considerably when he was on those fresh hard compound tyres. So Hamilton hoping for the same treatment. But unfortunately, Charles Leclerc is the Ferrari teammate leading. So Charles Leclerc is going to get the optimal stopping position. Leclerc gets the priority. He's into the pits. Let's see where Charles Leclerc is going to come out here. Have they spotted a little bit of a gap for Leclerc to get back out into some clean air? Oh, there's yellow flags. Oh, it is Lewis Hamilton. It's Lewis Hamilton into the barriers on the outside of turn 3. What's happened to Lewis Hamilton there? Slow on our board. And he's on the outside of turn 3. That feels like it's going to be a safety car. And it is a safety car. Ooh, okay. The two McLarens are both making their way around the final sector. Who gets the blink? Who comes in first of the two McLaren cars? Or are they just going to double stack Piastri and Norris? Oscar Piastri does come in. Piastri does come in. Is there enough of a gap, though, for Piastri to come in and then Norris to follow him? Norris has come in as well. They are double stacking at McLaren. So it's the exact same strategy for both of the McLaren cars. Oh, that's a little bit slow from Lando Norris at the front. It's always the problem with a double stack. Piastri and Norris getting out there. Max Verstappen comes in as well. So does Isaac Hadjar and George Russell as well. So Charles Leclerc is going to come out so disappointing if you're Charles Leclerc. He's literally just pitted. And now everybody in front of him getting the opportunity to pit under the safety car. Lawson's in. Carlos Sainz is in as well. Alex Albon coming into the pits also. So Charles Leclerc has now lost out to George Russell as well. So Russell comes out. Charles Leclerc's dropped a position to George Russell then. Lawson and Sainz and Albon also making their way down the pit lane. I think it's Franco Colapinto. So Gasly has come in. Colapinto pitted beforehand. Stroll and Behrman and Alonso going a little bit further. Everybody pitting under the safety car, though. The safety car finally catching up with Oscar Piastri. Piastri is going to catch up to the back of the safety car as they come through turn 11. And Hamilton just uncharacteristic mistake from him. Is there a little bit of slipperiness on the paint, maybe, because of the rain coming down? You know, we could all speculate. We'll have to wait and see what Lewis Hamilton says. Seems like a little mistake inside of that Ferrari car somewhere. Oh, and Lando Norris maybe tried to go before the jack had actually been removed. And that's why the jack then took a little while longer to get out from underneath that McLaren car. Safety car shrinking the gaps a little. We'll shrink the gaps completely. Everybody will catch up to the back of the safety car. Max Verstappen still in the podium places. Hadjar, Russell, Leclerc, Lawson. The problem with the safety car coming when it did is it's kind of when everybody was going to pit anyway. So it's gotten rid of any kind of pit strategy, really, at this point in the Grand Prix. Everybody's just pitted at the exact same moment on the exact same lap. So Piastri is still going to be ahead of Norris, but though lap time advantage of 3.5 seconds that he had through that first stint, now going to be completely wiped out as Lando Norris finds the back of his teammate. Verstappen, Hadjar, Russell, Leclerc just coming through the first sector. Catching up to the back of the field. Bortoleto and Hulkenberg, the two drivers right at the back of the pack now then. And Stakes Sauber is really just not gone their way this weekend. Albon lost out in that as well. Kind of dropped behind Esteban Ocon in that case. Ocon, a huge winner, up into 9th place now. Antonelli is still in 11th spot, but finally got rid of Yuki Tsunoda. Tsunoda's down into 15th. So Hadjar still where he was. Lawson has gained a position because of Hamilton falling away. It's Esteban Ocon who is the real big winner there. Carlos Sainz gained a position, obviously, because Hamilton's fallen away in front of him as well. But Albon losing out to Esteban Ocon. Oh, Ocon hasn't pitted. Sorry, yeah. I wasn't even looking at that. I was like, well, everybody's pitted. That's silly. Why haven't Haas pitted? I mean, they are on the hard compound tyre. But that is a risk from Esteban Ocon. I didn't even look at that. I just assumed literally everybody had pitted because why wouldn't you under the safety car? But yeah, Ocon and Behrman decided to stay out there. Oh. Lando Norris on the radio asking about how Lewis Hamilton lost his Ferrari car, went onto the paint, a little bit slippery as what the McLaren engineers have. Lando Norris would have hoped to have been told that a little bit earlier. But that is where we are, and the safety car is indeed in this lap. So the gap between Piastri and Norris shrinks. Let's have a look at this pit again from Lando Norris. Oh, and yeah, Lando Norris did indeed. Yeah, the front jack guy just didn't quite get away quickly enough. And Lando Norris just nudging him out of the way. I think he's okay. Fell backwards, but comfortably into some front wings. Here we are then. Piastri closes the gap. The safety car has disappeared. Going around turn 13 now, the safety car. Obviously, the safety car has to get there. And Piastri has gone. Before turn 13 as well, Piastri has decided to launch very early as the green flag is then waved. As they cross that safety car line, Piastri then coming down the pit straight. Oh my goodness me. And George Russell having a look at Isaac Hadjar straight off the whack. Isaac Hadjar trying to hold him off around the outside of turn 1. And George Russell does indeed. Oh, and there's a contact there between Albon and Ocon, I think. Or possibly even Sainz and Lawson. No, it was Sainz and Lawson. Sainz and Lawson came to blows with one another, and they're both going slowly. Oh, that is so disappointing for Carlos Sainz and Liam Lawson. There's contact between them. They're both going very slowly indeed. They're going to fall all the way to the back of the pack. And Lawson and Sainz fall out of the points then. Antonelli and Stroll gain those positions into 9th and 10th place. Max indeed on the medium compound tyre. It's got another set of hard compound tyres to use as well as Max Verstappen. So had the most fresh tyres available to him, did Max Verstappen coming into the race. Yuki Tsunoda fighting with Fernando Alonso. Tsunoda gets back in front of Fernando Alonso into 12th place. And Lawson and Sainz are just trundling along round turn 10. 2 McLarens still out in front, though. A second now. The gap between Piastri and Norris. So Piastri outside of DRS range just about. Verstappen coming around turn 3. DRS now enabled. Hadjar holding on to 4th place still, but it's George Russell behind him now and Charles Leclerc then behind in 6th spot. There's a lot of water. Round turn 3. Maybe it's a little bit of dust, possibly. I thought it was water. At the kink there for 4 and 5. Weird. Sainz and Lawson have managed to make their way all the way back around, and imagine both of them coming into the pits. And now we'll see if they rejoin, but so disappointing. Both of those cars running in the points fairly comfortably and did well to be able to continue on into the points beyond the safety car period as well. Soft tyres go onto Liam Lawson's car. He gets out in front of Carlos Sainz, who needs a full front wing change. The Williams car is out, but after a 13.2 second pit stop, and that feels like it's going to kind of be it for Lawson and Sainz. They're just going to be running around towards the back of the pack. Got the jump on the safety car. Lawson round the outside, and Carlos Sainz just collected by Lawson. Sort of 2 cars side by side going into one corner, and then big damage to the... And then Sainz out. Lawson also loses traction. Yeah. And Sainz on the radio. Not very happy at all. It was a puncture. The front right tyre punctured on Carlos Sainz's car and the front wing damaged. And it was the rear left punctured on Liam Lawson's car. Both of them I think that'll have to be investigated. I'd need to see it a little bit again. It just feels like Lawson maybe closed the door a touch, but was Carlos Sainz alongside enough to really warrant being in that position? I'd have to see it again because we only saw it from Carlos Sainz's perspective. Couldn't quite see how far alongside he was. Here we go then. Piastri elongating that lead once again. 2 seconds the gap between Piastri and Norris. Lando not able to live with his teammate at the moment. Here goes. Oh my goodness me. George Russell versus Isaac Hadjar, and Hadjar having a little look at it. Russell not quite able to get past this time around. Lawson and Sainz now real in the mix of the pack as well. Just a lap down, but just behind Kimi Antonelli, and Antonelli is trying to fight with Alex Albon ahead, and it's going to get very close between these two. There are quite a few little battles starting to eke themselves out here, and they're going to these could definitely turn into some incidents if they're not too careful. Lewis Hamilton out of the race, and maybe others are likely to join him. George Russell moving under braking, he says on the radio about Isaac Hadjar's defense. Max Verstappen now 1.5 seconds from Lando Norris. Isaac Hadjar, though, keeping the DRS to his Red Bull compatriot. Albon fighting with Kimi Antonelli, and Antonelli trying to get past Alex Albon up into 7th place. Albon closing the door on Antonelli pretty substantially there. That is a hefty little maneuver. Let's have a look. Carlos Sainz battling with Liam Lawson in the background. And goodness me, they're, well, I mean, battling for 18th and 19th place, but Carlos Sainz ahead of Liam Lawson once more, and Carlos Sainz now under the rear wing of Kimi Antonelli. Oh, virtual safety car. Possibly debris on the track. Drivers having to slow down, and there is that debris. Just quite a big bit of carbon fibre. And it is on the main straight as well. So Piastri just pulling over to the left-hand side of the track. Imagine all of the cars will make their way by. And then someone will quickly run out and grab that piece of debris. Lando Norris being told on the radio, we should try to go to the end on these tyres. So 8 laps completed on the hard compound tyres that you put on during that first safety car. Well, it's only a virtual safety car, but the safety car that we had from Lewis Hamilton. There goes the marshal, sprinting out, grabs that piece of wing, and off the track. Lovely work. Virtual safety car now ending as the marshal gets off of the racing line, and we're going to get a green flag for the cars to get going once again. Max Verstappen still in 3rd spot, podium still on the run, but Isaac Hadjar is still the man at the moment. George Russell, though, under pressure from Charles Leclerc, and Charles Leclerc using the virtual safety car restart to maybe have a little look at the inside. Oh my God, they're going to get side by side this touch. Charles Leclerc and George Russell, there's definite contact between the two. George Russell fought that as hard as he possibly could through turn 11 and turn 12. Charles Leclerc was onto the gravel. George Russell was right beside him. There's going to be DRS for George Russell. Charles Leclerc moves over to the left-hand side of the track. Oh my goodness me, it's going to be tight between the two of them. And only just as Charles Leclerc hold on, although George Russell hasn't given up on it yet. George Russell with a bit between his teeth. And how has Leclerc held on to that position? Wow. Really, really tough battling between those two. That's going to be investigated, surely, because there was definite contact between the two of them as they went round turn 11 and turn 12. Charles Leclerc really optimistic there, just going for the move as soon as the virtual safety car came to a close, realizing that he could get that run on George Russell into turn 11, put the Ferrari on the apex. And George Russell was not going to give that position up, but eventually had to concede. And then even down the straight, Charles Leclerc moving to the right-hand side of the track. Goodness me, they were close to one another. Both drivers on the absolute limits right there. Turn 12, turn 11, turn 12. He doesn't leave the space. He cannot complain is the run from Charles Leclerc. And Charles Leclerc now just trying to prove a point, I think. Fully off the track? I don't think he was. Oh, was he? Might be right on the white line. George Russell might have a point, you know. I don't know if he... There's definite debris between the two of them as well. We'll have a little look. Oh, Carlos Sainz with a penalty. 10-second penalty for causing a collision, Carlos Sainz. I mean, it's not going to do too much because he's already down in 18th place. But if you wanted a nail for that coffin, there it is. 10-second penalty for causing a collision for Carlos Sainz when he was battling with Liam Lawson beforehand. Both of them punctured tyres. Both of them fallen all the way out of the point scoring places to 18th and 19th spot. And both of them just kind of hoping and praying for some spectacular change of pace where maybe the 8 or 9 cars in front of them all crash out and they're able to get the points that they were running in beforehand. Isaac Hadjar now the next man to be under pressure from Charles Leclerc. Ooh, and a yellow flag for a track hazard. And it's on the outside of turn 12. Is it that debris that we had from Charles Leclerc versus George Russell? But double yellow flag in that sector. Green flag now waved, so it can't have been anything too dramatic. Oscar Piastri, a second and a half ahead of his teammate. Verstappen then a couple of seconds adrift. Isaac Hadjar just within DRS range of Max Verstappen. But Charles Leclerc with a newfound animalistic approach to this Grand Prix. He was annoyed that he lost out to George Russell in the safety car pit stops. He got that position back. And he was fighting with Isaac Hadjar for a long time in that first stint. Maybe he's not going to be quite as nice about it in this second stint. Charles Leclerc feels like he is out for blood at this point. DRS wide open. He's going to catch up to the back of Isaac Hadjar's rear wing and just let the Red Bull Racing car, I keep doing that, Racing Bull's car, know that he is right behind him. Straight out race with the field spread. Likely that there'll be opportunities. Lando Norris just being look, just go for it. Lando Norris maybe was holding onto his tyres a touch, being like, well, maybe if I've got to get to the end or if there is an opportunity to pit somewhere. But the race engineer saying, look, unless there's another safety car or some kind of incident like that, it's looking like from this point on, it's just going to be a race to the end. You might as well try and get him now. And I think that is a bit of Mercedes car that was on the track. Oof. There's a lot of debris, actually, all over the track around there. The marshals running around and trying to find that carbon fiber without getting swept up by a Formula One car themselves. But we get to the halfway point of this Grand Prix. 36 laps completed, 36 laps to go. I was just thinking, shall we have a little look at the championship standings? Or at least what the championship standings look like at the moment. with the cars where they are. The championship would look like so. Oscar Piastri would elongate his lead. He would be on 309 points to Lando Norris's 293. Max Verstappen would remain third after another third place finish. George Russell would lose a little bit of ground to Max Verstappen, 22 points, the gap between the two. Charles Leclerc would gain obviously massively on Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton now out of this Grand Prix. Antonelli would just about get another 2 points on Alex Albon, elongate that lead in 7th place to 12 points. Nico Hülkenberg would stay where he is in 9th, but there's the big swing. Isaac Hadjar, 12 points on the board if he finishes where he is right now in 4th place in this Grand Prix. He would be up to 10th place in the standings. Ocon would drop down a couple of positions. Lance Stroll at the moment is running inside of the points, although it's going to be a very long run for him if he does manage to stay there. But he would also gain an advantage on Fernando Alonso, currently both on 26 points. And then Gasly, Lawson, Sainz, Bortoleto, Tsunoda, Behrman, Colapinto would stay where they are. And the big winner in the Constructors' Championship would also be Racing Bulls, thanks to Isaac Hadjar. They would go up into 6th place, 57 points, and have a 3-point advantage on Aston Martin. Aston Martin and Kick Sauber would both drop down a position. They'd be on 54 and 51 points, though. So insanely tight between those midfield teams in the constructor standings. Williams getting 4 points on the board, 74 in total as it stands, thanks to Alex Albon running around in 8th place. Alonso on the radio. Fernando Alonso wanting something doing. Can we undercut all these people or something? Alonso just realizing that he's got the pace inside of that Aston Martin car, but he's in a little bit of a DRS train at the moment. Sort of Ocon, Behrman, Tsunoda himself, they're all close to one another and can't quite have enough of an advantage to get there. Under investigation as well, I should point out, Charles Leclerc and George Russell. And Tsunoda is going to have a little go at Ollie Behrman here. Tsunoda tries to go around the outside. No, cut up the inside possibly for Yuki Tsunoda. Still can't do that. Round 2 and 2 they go. Towards turn 3 and the banking. Yuki Tsunoda not going for a move in there. Tsunoda trying desperately to get inside of the point scoring places. He has been right on the bubble of them throughout the entire race. Didn't gain on the fact that Carlos Sainz and Liam Lawson wiped one another out either because of where he ended up after the safety car. And Tsunoda still in 12th spot. He'll be looking at Kimi Antonelli, who he was battling with earlier on. Now up into 7th position is the Mercedes car. Tsunoda just hasn't quite been able to match the rookie in the Mercedes. Piastri, 1.3 seconds, the lead to Norris. Haven't really heard much from the two McLarens running at the front. They just seem to have the advantage at the moment over the rest of the field, but can't quite get to within touching distance of one another. Well, at least from Lando Norris's side of things, that's what he would be hoping for. It's closing in 1.1 seconds, the gap. Verstappen has fallen away again. Verstappen on the medium tyres as well after those safety car pit stops. Is Verstappen going to have to pit again on those mediums? Are you going to try and go all the way to the end? A lot of the guys on the hard compound tyre are aiming to go to the end of the Grand Prix. We've heard that from Lando Norris's engineer a couple of times, that they are expecting these hards to just run and run. So Verstappen's going to have to be a little bit careful in 3rd place, but he's got more than enough of a gap to Isaac Hadjar behind. 1.5 seconds the gap, then another 1.5 seconds to Charles Leclerc in 5th, who hasn't quite been able to get under the rear wing of the Racing Bulls car in the way that I was hoping. And Charles Leclerc under investigation. So is George Russell just behind him in 6th spot. Russell now 3.3 seconds adrift of Leclerc. Definitely some damage to that Mercedes car as well. So difficult to really judge where Russell's pace should have been, because there was some carbon fiber chucked up from that Mercedes. Oh. And George Russell being told invert positions. Wow. He has complied. Antonelli has gone past. But George Russell on the radio told, with the damage on the car that we've got, we think it would be best to invert positions. So Antonelli now given the place ahead of his teammate. And that's an interesting one. George Russell not happy at all on the radio about that. Maybe Antonelli seeing an opportunity to catch up to Charles Leclerc, possibly. We'll have to see what Antonelli's pace is like, I guess, now that he's in a little bit of clean air in front of George Russell. Didn't even do it into turn one. Russell just giving the position way before they were even expecting him to Mercedes. And Lando Norris, fastest lap of the race so far. It's a 1/10 of a second quicker than his teammate. Russell has damage? Yes, indeed. To the right-hand side, no, left-hand side of his floor, wouldn't it? Because he was to the right of Charles Leclerc through turn 11. The Ferrari and the Mercedes came to blows as they went through turn 11 and turn 12. Alonso just made a second stop. He did indeed. He wanted to try and undercut the rest of the field. Problem is, I don't know if he's going to get an undercut necessarily, because I don't know if anyone else is going to pit again. Alonso going for that second stop, though. Hard compound tyres it is for him. And I think he's just hoping that he'll be able to catch up to Ocon, Behrman, Tsunoda, Gasly, Colapinto. They're all in a big group. Esteban Ocon and Ollie Behrman decided not to pit, remember, under the safety car conditions. They are still running around on the tyres that they started the race on in 10th and 11th place. So unlikely that they're really going to end up there. But maybe. Oscar Piastri, the rear wing of his car. He'll be able to see Lando Norris in his wing mirrors, but at arm's length at the moment. No DRS for his teammate. So the two McLaren drivers sort of comfortably running around in first and second. No real drama between them at the moment. Verstappen just holding on to his tyres, it feels like, in third place. Just consistent 115s. Isaac Hadjar matching them behind. Charles Leclerc now 2 seconds off the back of Isaac Hadjar. And Charles Leclerc is going to be absolutely sick to death of seeing the rear wing of Isaac Hadjar by the end of this Grand Prix. Kimi Antonelli gained a second in the last couple of laps on Charles Leclerc. And maybe Leclerc also carrying a little bit of damage on that Ferrari car, because Antonelli now looking like fifth place is up for grabs. It's a shame. Charles Leclerc's pace was really good. Like, if he could just get past Isaac Hadjar, I think we would have really had a nice battle between Verstappen and Leclerc. But hands up to Isaac Hadjar. He has done an exceptional job to carry that Racing Bulls car to fourth place and keep it solidly in that position through all of the chaos, through the safety car, through the virtual safety car. Hasn't blinked, has made sure that he's done his job, stayed in fourth position, kept himself out of trouble. Sometimes the best thing to do is just keep your nose clean. Lando Norris, 1.2 seconds adrift. He's been told on the radio numerous times, there's nothing that we can do. There's no kind of strategy advantage that we can give you. There's no kind of change in what we can do in terms of where everybody else in the field, because if Norris did pit again, he'd just come out in a load of traffic. He'd have to deal with possibly, you know, Russell, Antonelli, Leclerc, Hadjar, Verstappen. And yes, he would be able to get past them, but getting past them in the first place would cost him more time than he'd lose right now anyway. So Lando is being told to go for it. Oscar Piastri has been able to match him so far. Lando Norris, every time he puts in a fast lap, Piastri matches it and turns up the heat inside of his McLaren car. Is it going to get towards the end of the Grand Prix where we really see both of these cars, their tyres start to wane a little, and who's been able to hold on to them just that little bit better whilst on this sort of cat and mouse chase? Verstappen in third place, 8 seconds off the back of Lando Norris, nearly 10 seconds off the lead of his home race from a victory. Isaac Hadjar still in contention for a podium, just needs something to go wrong. Maybe if we do see Lando Norris versus Oscar Piastri a little bit later on in the Grand Prix, we could end up with a Verstappen, Hadjar, Leclerc podium. Not sure anybody would have predicted that coming into the weekend, but they are the turns that you get sometimes in Formula One, the unpredictable nature of the Grand Prix. Antonelli also in the hunt, 3 seconds off the back of the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc, and he get himself into contention for a 5th place finish. Be a very, very solid return from Antonelli, considering he started outside of those point scoring places and looked like he was having a really torrid time fighting with Yuki Tsunoda during the first stint. Managed to get away from the Japanese driver, now ahead of his teammate after Russell picked up some damage as well. Antonelli running around in 6th place. 8 points on the board. Alex Albon only getting 4 at the moment. His closest competitor in the championship. Closes into Lewis Hamilton as well, don't forget. Not by a considerable margin. What happened to Hamilton? A mistake going around turn 3, unfortunately for Lewis. Put him out. Oh, my goodness. Put him on the outside of turn 3. Just lost the Ferrari car. And then hit the wall on the exit of turn 3. Is out of the race. Wow. And Carlos Sainz on the radio has been given a 10-second penalty, and now getting the reaction to that from Carlos Sainz. He is no too happy about it. As you can imagine, Carlos Sainz and Liam Lawson both running around in 18th and 19th place after really should have been in the points. Both of them were doing so well in the first half of this Grand Prix. 26 laps left to go though, and Sainz and Lawson now need an absolute miracle if they're going to be able to achieve anything in this race. They are a lap down on everybody ahead of them. You're looking at Sainz and Albon side by side on your picture right now, but Albon running in 8th and Carlos Sainz a lap down on his teammate. Fernando Alonso is absolutely flying on those hard compound tyres, but is he flying enough to be able to now deal with the traffic in front of him? Because Alonso pitted from inside of this group. He's now caught up to the back of this group. Hülkenberg at the back of it, but it's Ocon, Behrman, Tsunoda, Gasly, Colapinto, Bortoleto, Hülkenberg. They're all right there. They're all within DRS range of one another. They're all just kind of achieving nothing in the midfield at the moment. 10th place Ocon, yet to pit. So Tsunoda is effectively running in 10th place because Behrman also yet to pit for the Haas team. Alonso's trying to get there if he can do. But this is going to be so tough for Fernando Alonso. He needs a safety car right now, does Fernando Alonso, really? Because then everybody in front of him would probably pit. Lando Norris still a second and a half off, so unfortunately just there. Why is Verstappen the only one on the medium? Just went for a different strategy to everybody else today. Started on the soft compound tyre, did Max Verstappen. Worked well for him off the launch. Managed to get up into 2nd place ahead of Lando Norris initially, but then those tyres started to wane and we started to see the real pace difference between the McLaren and the Red Bull car this weekend, and Lando Norris able to get 2nd place back from the 4-time world champion. And since then, Verstappen's just kind of been running around in 3rd place all by himself. Opted for the medium tyre when they pitted for the for the first time, for their 2nd stint, I was going to say. Oh, and here's Hamilton. Hamilton not sure what happened, but as he went up the bank, the rear of the car snapped out and nothing he could do to recover. Feels like he made real progress inside of the car, though, does Lewis Hamilton. So, bit disappointing, I guess, from his perspective. Well, very disappointing from his perspective that he felt like he was, getting somewhere with this car, but ended up in the barriers and out of the race. You can see the ghost of Hamilton there very faintly at the exit of turn 3. And Carlos Sainz is livid about this 10-second penalty. He wants to go and see the stewards. And I imagine right now, he's just about said to the team that he'll finish the race before he goes and has a word with them. But I think he is just absolutely seething inside of that Williams car. Fernando Alonso looking at the back of Nico Hülkenberg right now, right under the rear wing of Nico Hülkenberg. And that Aston Martin trying to do anything possible. Alonso pitted in the hope that he'd be able to get out of this traffic jam, and he's just back in it again, now at the back of it. Can he actually make up the positions, though? Because Hülkenberg and Bortoleto ahead of him, they can work together, give them the DRS. Bortoletto's going to punch a hole in the air for Hülkenberg to run into. Here goes Fernando Alonso then down into turn 3. He tries to have a little look up the inside. Not able to do it, though. And Alonso still remains behind Nico Hülkenberg. The battle for 16th place. Currently the closest battle that we've got out on track. Kimi Antonelli is closing in onto the back of Charles Leclerc. Now down to 2 seconds, that gap between them. George Russell hasn't been able to hold on to the back of his teammate. The gap between the two Mercedes cars now up to 7.5 seconds. So definite damage to George Russell's car. We'll see what extent that was after the Grand Prix. Possible damage to Charles Leclerc's car as well, of course, with that incident. And here we go. Fernando Alonso around the outside of turn 11. He finally gets that move done on Nico Hülkenberg. He's up into 16th place. And Gabriel Bortoleto is next up on the list. Of course, Fernando Alonso, Gabriel Bortoletto's manager. And Fernando Alonso is not in the best of moods, Gabby, so it might be for your best interests if you just shuffle out of the way here. Both of the Spaniards on the grid absolutely livid with how this weekend has gone for them. When can Max use DRS? If he's within a second of the car in front of him. So he's just got to gain the 9.5 seconds on Lando Norris. Unlikely. Replay of the move. Alonso round turn 10. Had the DRS. Got the run on Nico Hülkenberg. Peeled to the left-hand side of the track. Round the outside of turn 12. Into the inside of turn, outside of turn 11, into the inside of turn 12. And the move done for the Aston Martin man. And Fernando Alonso now also looking at Bortoleto and does the same. Alonso up ahead of Gabriel Bortoleto. And Kimi Antonelli deciding on some fresh tyres. That's an interesting choice. Mercedes deciding that Kimi Antonelli is going to go onto some soft compound tyres. They do remember that there's no point for fastest lap, right? 20 laps left to go. We've got Kimi Antonelli now on the soft compound tyre. He's got to get back ahead of Alex Albon. Then George Russell, I'd imagine, would be willing to move out of the way once again. He's going to try and get that run at Charles Leclerc. Lawson out of the way of Antonelli. Carlos Sainz will move out of the way as well. Sainz a lap down on the leaders, so Sainz will be having blue flags waved at him. Oh. And Charles Leclerc possibly covering this off. Box, box, Charles Leclerc. Indeed, Charles Leclerc does come in. Just trying to cover off anything that Kimi Antonelli and the Mercedes team are planning. Antonelli is overtaking Carlos Sainz. It's just coming around turn 13 now. I don't think that Antonelli is going to get the run at Leclerc straight away. Charles Leclerc, though, is going to possibly come out behind Alex Albon, is he? This might be a bit of a weird one from Ferrari, trying to cover off Kimi Antonelli, but Antonelli is there, and it was very close indeed. Charles Leclerc does come out ahead of Kimi Antonelli, or does he? Is Kimi Antonelli? And it's a big collision between the two. And Charles Leclerc is wiped out at turn 3. Kimi Antonelli decided to go up the inside, and that's going to be a safety car. Charles Leclerc, both of the Ferraris out of this race. And it's a misjudgment from possibly Kimi Antonelli trying to make the overtake on Charles Leclerc, sent the Ferrari car spinning around. And Oscar Piastri is coming in. Lando Norris is coming in. The safety car has allowed the rest of the field to get their second pit stops in. And that is very quick work from the McLaren team to run out with the tyres. Piastri a little bit slow in the pits, though. Lando Norris even slower. But Max Verstappen is pitting, so is Isaac Hadjar. So Lando Norris will be fine. He'll still have that position. And Max Verstappen then onto some new tyres as well. Isaac Hadjar into the pits, as you'd imagine. George Russell also coming in. Yes, indeed. Wow. Wow. The Dutch Grand Prix is not the weekend for Ferrari, is it? Both Ferraris out. Both Ferraris crashing on the outside of turn 3. Lewis Hamilton was his mistake, though, and Charles Leclerc was certainly not his mistake. Side by side with Kimi Antonelli. And Antonelli is back into the pits, and he's lost a wheel, so looks like he's been dragging himself around the track. Kimi Antonelli is thrown away his position there. And where is Antonelli going to come out? Gasly and Alonso there too. And Antonelli, I think, comes out 7th place still, Kimi Antonelli. No, that can't be right. Can it? I suppose everybody else pitted. Just miles behind Albon and Russell at this point, though. And yeah, Kimi Antonelli just couldn't keep it on the lower part of the track, and Charles Leclerc was already as high and as wide as he could really be around turn 3. I think it was just overzealous from Kimi Antonelli there. Went for a position that didn't quite exist, and Charles Leclerc can feel a bit hard done by today. He's just kind of been stuck behind Isaac Hadjar and then pitted one lap before this first safety car, and now wiped out by Kimi Antonelli. Like, just really hasn't been Ferrari's day at all. They've had good pace, but haven't been able to show it. And Kimi Antonelli, that had to drag that Mercedes car around, the plank on fire inside of that Mercedes. Ferrari head to Monza with a double DNF in Zandvoort. That is a real shame for the two Ferrari cars there, isn't it? Let's have a little look at the championship with that then, might as well whilst we're here. And the safety car is just collecting up the rest of the drivers. So Ferrari will come away with 0 points. Mercedes, if they finish where they are right now, even with the kind of topsy-turvy weekend that they've had, would gain 16 points and be 8 points behind Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship. And George Russell maybe can feel a little bit like he could have finished a bit higher as well. Possibly got ahead of Hadjar and closed that gap even more so, but that is where it is. Isaac Hadjar carrying Racing Bulls up the standings into 6th place as well at this moment in time. But chaos, absolute chaos for the Ferrari team. They will look at turn 3 and bid it farewell after this weekend, I think. Wow. Gasly and Bortoleto have stayed out there, so Gasly and Bortoleto decided not to pit. Fernando Alonso did that second stop early, so Alonso now in 9th place, looking like sort of 8th place guaranteed for Alonso, really. So it's played into Alonso's hands, got back up into the points, up into 8th. Albon has done well as well. He's up into 6th still. So Albon still delivering inside of that Williams car, as he seems to almost every single weekend. Bortoleto on the cusp of points. Although it's played into Ollie Behrman's hands, because Behrman has been able to pit and stay 11th. Remember, Ollie Behrman stayed out in the first safety car. And Liam Lawson. Whew. A lot of blind exits around this corner. And Kimi Antonelli has been given a 10-second penalty. 10-second penalty for Kimi Antonelli. Where is it on my screen? There you go. 10-second penalty causing a collision for Kimi Antonelli. So add 10 seconds to his final race time. Will probably drop him down a couple of positions, you would imagine. So Kimi Antonelli, 10-second penalty. Carlos Sainz, 10-second penalty given earlier on as well. We've had quite a few investigations throughout this Grand Prix. Certainly not been without incident. Hard compound tyres. Yeah, Piastri and Norris both deciding that the hard compound tyre is the tyre of choice for them at this point in the Grand Prix. Used softs for Verstappen, Hadjar, Russell, Albon, Antonelli behind. Oh no, sorry, Albon a fresh set of softs, of course, because Albon didn't manage to get through to Q3. Lapped cars just going. Oh, Tsunoda doesn't have power. Try and get used to it under the safety car right now. So Tsunoda also with a problem inside of his Red Bull car. He's 13th in the standings at the moment. Up to 40% of the throttle application, he doesn't have it. Wow. So it's going to feel a little bit weird for Yuki Tsunoda inside of that Red Bull car. He's trying to adapt to it now under the safety car conditions. But he's going to have a weird throttle. Kimi Antonelli with that 10-second penalty, but that's closed the gap once again between Piastri and Norris. We've got 16 laps left to go. Lando Norris just letting Piastri know he is right there with him. Ollie Behrman, 11th place again, yeah. Goodness me. He's just attracted to it. He can't help himself but finish in 11th place, I don't think, Ollie Behrman. Now, he should be able to gain Bortoleto and Gasly ahead of him on different strategies. Piastri and Norris, though, are the ones to watch at this safety car restart. Lawson and Sainz have been unlapped. The safety car, though, is ending at this point. So Piastri's just going to close up the gap. Max Verstappen on the soft compound tyres is an interesting one as well, just behind the two McLaren cars. We saw what he did on the soft compound tyres at the start of the race. Can he do it again? We've got a green flag waving. Piastri has indeed gone as they launch into turn 13 and 14. 15 laps left to go until the checkered flag. Piastri versus Norris. Verstappen is also having a little look at Lando Norris's rear wing. In fact, Verstappen closer to Norris than Norris is to Piastri. Isaac Hadjar has done well again to close in and make sure 4th place stays with him. Fernando Alonso trying to get a move done on Pierre Gasly, not quite able to do it this time around. But Piastri did very well indeed to escape away from his teammate there. And Verstappen now putting Norris under pressure with the soft compound tyres in his favour. Max Verstappen trying to gain a position in front of his home crowd. Not able to do it this time around though. And Verstappen is going to have to play something to get that position from Norris. Feels like that McLaren car just is the quicker by a mile this weekend. Hadjar fighting. Oh, and Ollie Behrman has managed to get past Gabriel Bortoleto. Bortoleto also losing a position to Lance Stroll as well. And Pierre Gasly finally gets outdone by Alonso. No, he doesn't. Alonso not able to get fully past. Gasly comes back at him. And he's going to have to hold on for a little while longer, is Fernando Alonso. Surely we'll get that move down in towards turn 1, you'd imagine. Here comes Piastri and Norris, though. Piastri, 1.2 seconds. No DRS for Lando Norris this time around, of course, as the DRS becomes enabled now. Pierre Gasly is holding up Fernando Alonso. Ferrari double DNF. Yes, indeed. Both of the Ferrari cars out of this one. Lewis Hamilton, his fault. Charles Leclerc, not so much. Kimi Antonelli wiping out the Italian team. Piastri, fastest lap of the race so far. Piastri's just able to deliver it when he needs it, isn't he? It's the form of champions there. Safety car, got it right again, got away from his teammate. And Piastri doing very well indeed. Antonelli, 10 seconds, remember, is going to be added to his time, but Gasly currently doing him a massive favour because Gasly is holding Alonso behind. Tsunoda against Bortoleto now, and Tsunoda manages to get past Gabriel Bortoleto up into 12th place down towards turn 11. And Tsunoda also now trying to scramble together a point scoring finish inside of the Red Bull car. Lando Norris inside a DRS range of his teammate. Is he going to be able to have a little look at him? Not this time around, but DRS range nonetheless. Is the first time in a long time that we've seen the DRS wide open in Lando Norris's car. Charles Leclerc sitting on the inside of turn 3, just watching the end of this race. And I think just looking towards turn 1 and wondering if one of the McLarens is going to make a move on the other. Gabriel Bortoleto really struggling inside of that Sauber car. Clearly not the idea to drop and keep those tyres on because Bortoleto has fallen like a stone. Now down into 16th place. Here we are then. The final 12 laps. It's going to get tighter and tighter, it feels like, between these two at the front of the race. If you had to gamble on it now, who would you go for? Piastri versus Norris. Norris 1.2 seconds the gap, but fastest lap from Lando Norris last time around. Let's see what the lap times are like this time. Ollie Behrman gets past Fernando Alonso. Behrman is absolutely on it right now inside of that Haas car. Fresh set of medium tyres compared to Alonso's hards. And now has Gasly with 37 lap old hard compound tyres in front of him. Surely is not going to be too tricky to get past for Ollie Behrman inside of that Haas car. And Haas now looking like points are available to them in the form of Ollie Behrman. Lando just not able to live with the pace of Oscar Piastri at all at this moment in time. Lando Norris now 1.3 seconds adrift. Fastest lap to Oscar Piastri. Last lap a 112.2. A 112.9 from Lando Norris. And Piastri has just got his teammate at arm's length. Unfortunately for Norris fans out there, it just feels like every time he gets even half an opportunity, Piastri has got more than enough to deal with it and respond. Franco Colapinto making a move on Esteban Ocon. Ooh, tries to go down the inside. Little bit of a bounce between the two. I think just wheel-to-wheel contact between the Alpine and the Haas. And Colapinto has to settle for 14th and sit behind Esteban Ocon once more. No way Behrman will get points. Surely he'll end up 11th. Very good. Kimi Antonelli, another 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Goodness me. 15-second time penalty for Kimi Antonelli then. Lance Stroll has just managed to get past Fernando Alonso. Alonso staying out on those hards was not the play for him, was it? Pitted early, decided to try for the undercut, but then everyone got the second safety car pit stops. Antonelli with a 15-second time penalty, but a 7.5-second gap to Gasly already anyway. And Verstappen, not very happy inside of that Red Bull car, it has to be said. He is not enjoying being inside of that Red Bull, actually is matched by Isaac Hadjar last lap. A 113.4 from both Verstappen and Hadjar. What would be the call if Isaac Hadjar managed to close that within DRS range at this point in the Grand Prix? Would he be allowed to sneak a podium off Max Verstappen in the final Dutch Grand Prix? Not sure he'd be the most liked Red Bull driver if he was able to do that. Here goes Ollie Behrman, though, on Pierre Gasly, down in towards turn 1. Is he going to be able to hold on to it? Behrman making the move on Gasly and gets it done through turn 1. Holds on to it through turn 2, just around turn 3. Looks safe, and Behrman up into 8th place. Effectively 7th, though. Antonelli is going to have another 15 seconds added to his race time. At the moment, he is stuck right behind Alex Albon. Albon on slightly nicer soft compound tyres as well, so unlikely that Kimi Antonelli is going to be able to do anything with that. And Albon might be able to just cause Antonelli enough of a headache that Antonelli falls down a few positions in the race finishing standings. Lando Norris. Goodness gracious me, it's fallen to 1.7 seconds. He's been given a few opportunities as Lando Norris. Just has not been able to live with Piastri. Piastri has got the advantage here today. This is clear now. He's been given a couple of safety cars to close that gap in. And a couple of times Oscar Piastri has been asked the question. And he's answered it perfectly both times. Max Verstappen really not happy inside of that Red Bull, continuing to radio about just not being able to get that car to where he needs to be. Oscar Piastri, possibly a few very light drops of rain. Will that be the saving grace for Lando Norris's attempt at battling with his teammate? Driver of the day vote is continuing on at the moment. Isaac Hadjar winning out in the driver of the day vote, but let me know your driver of the day in the chat as well. We are a few laps from the end. 9 laps left to play out. Piastri versus Norris at the front. Verstappen still running in 3rd. Hadjar 4th. Russell just nursing that Mercedes car under pressure from Alex Albon. Albon does have the DRS on George Russell, but not able to get past him at the moment, even with Albon being the fastest. Oh, I think I've got smoke coming from the cockpit. It's an engine problem. It's an engine problem for Lando Norris. There is smoke coming from the back of that McLaren car. Oh my goodness. Smoke in the cockpit, and that's going to be it. Lando Norris is going to be out of the race. Max Verstappen goes past him. And it's going to be all over. Isaac Hadjar promoted into the podium places. And Lando Norris, that is a dagger to the heart. Safety car comes out once again. Lando Norris has come to a stop on the inside of turn 9. That is huge. That is such a dagger to the heart for Lando Norris. He has been the quickest McLaren car all the way up until qualifying. He just got beaten by Oscar Piastri by 12 thousandths of a second. He's done enough this weekend to be the second fastest car out on track and has not been rewarded. Lando Norris, add him to the DNF pile. Hamilton out. Leclerc out. Lando Norris out. Oscar Piastri leads this race by 6.5 seconds to Verstappen. Hello, though. Isaac Hadjar is now sitting in 3rd place. Isaac Hadjar has a 3-second advantage on George Russell. Obviously, the safety car is going to come and make sure that that advantage is pretty much null and void. But it shows that he's got the pace to stay in front of George Russell here. And he's got the opportunity to fight for his first podium in Formula One. 15 races into his rookie campaign. The driver who started the season in the barriers at Australia before the race even got underway now finds himself just a few laps away from a podium finish with Max Verstappen in the Red Bull. Wow, what a storyline Isaac Hadjar has been through this season. And Lando Norris sits on the inside of turn 9 and contemplates what he is going to have to do. Charles Leclerc also on the inside of turn 3. And Leclerc trying to work out where Lando Norris has gone by the looks of things, listening to the commentary and trying to work out why he's not seeing 2 McLarens go past him at the front of the pack. Safety car goes around once again. We're just closing the pack up. Ollie Behrman is going to be right behind Kimi Antonelli as well. There's one to maybe keep an eye on. And Lando Norris on the radio. Absolute dejected. He gets Will Joseph giving him a little bit of positivity over the radio, reminding him that he had a good weekend up until that point and trying not to lose all hope. But with 9 races left to go in the season, he is now going to be a good chunk of points behind Piastri. What are the points going to be? Let's have a little look. Piastri, 309 to Lando Norris's 275. It's going to be very, very tough for Lando Norris to be able to do anything from there, isn't it? Just moving Lando Norris's car. Norris, just the long walk back to the pits for him, especially because he came to a stop at turn 9, so a very long walk for Lando Norris to contemplate what he's got ahead of him for the rest of the season. Of course, he's got until December in Abu Dhabi to close that gap. It's not over and done with yet, but 34 points is considerable margin with 9 races left to go. It's unlucky from Lando Norris, though. And maybe luck will swing Oscar Piastri's way and there'll be an Oscar Piastri DNF at some point in the season too. We'll have to wait and see. Safety car still out. Safety car trying to gather a few more cars. Lando Norris's car has finally been taken off of the track. The crane just moving out of the way as well, because we know that we don't want to see them out on track. Piastri round the first corner. Safety car, I think, likely will be in at the end of this lap, just looking at where the crane is and where Lando Norris's car are positioned at the moment. But we have Piastri, Verstappen, Hadjar, our top 3 at the moment. George Russell just behind. Albon up into the point. Albon, another 5th place finish. This would be his 4th 5th place finish of the season, by the way, in 15 races in a Williams car. That is a stunning return from Alex Albon throughout the season so far. He's just been so quick, so good as Alex Albon. Antonelli in 6th spot. A 15-second penalty for Antonelli, though, with another safety car. He's got to try and make up 15 seconds in what will be 4 laps. So good luck, Kimi Antonelli. Looking like Antonelli will likely fall out of the point scoring positions, which will promote Ollie Behrman to just behind Alex Albon in 6th spot. Stroll and Alonso running around in 8th and 9th at the moment, and might even promote Yuki Tsunoda up into the points. Not sure 1 point for Yuki Tsunoda quite correlates to the 15 points that Isaac Hadjar is about to pick up inside of that Racing Bull. And a podium place still. We haven't seen a podium from Yuki Tsunoda in Formula 1, by the way. Tsunoda's 5th season in Formula 1. No podiums to his name. Isaac Hadjar, 15 races in Formula 1. and is 4 laps from a podium place. The safety car is in. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Will Max Verstappen be able to do something special on those soft compound tyres? Piastri launches away from him. The safety car ends. The green flag is waved, and Piastri is going to get us racing once again here in the Netherlands. Max Verstappen just behind. Is he going to go for a lunge in front of the home fans down towards turn 1? He's going to have one opportunity to do so. Isaac Hadjar trying to hold on to 3rd place. George Russell, of course, damage on that Mercedes car, so unlikely to be able to deal with the pace of Isaac Hadjar in front of him. Alex Albon does well to maintain 5th place. Antonelli still 6th, but as I say, Antonelli, 15-second penalty coming his way at the end of the Grand Prix. Behrman, Stroll, Alonso, Gasly also inside of the point scoring places for now in that order. Liam Lawson making a move on Nico Hulkenberg. Both of the Stakes Sauber cars have just had an absolutely torrid time throughout this Grand Prix, haven't they? Hulkenberg and Bortoletto have all over the place. Not the Stakes Sauber that we have seen before the summer break. A track that really just hasn't suited their car at all. And here we go then. Oscar Piastri does indeed just have enough to get Verstappen at arm's length. Verstappen might be within the DRS range. DRS still not enabled yet. We're going to come around. Going to have to keep going. And I think he's going to fall just outside of DRS range as it gets activated once again. Isaac Hadjar is holding on to 3rd place. Does very well indeed, does Isaac Hadjar. George Russell in 4th place. Antonelli is just in a bit of a pickle, right? Because Antonelli can't really do anything. He's got Albon and Russell in front of him. If it was just Russell, maybe the Mercedes team would be able to do something. But unfortunately, they can't really get Antonelli ahead of Russell without sabotaging George Russell's race and allowing Alex Albon to get ahead. But Behrman, Stroll, Alonso, Tsunoda, the 4 cars behind. Gasly has indeed fallen away. Oh yeah, I forgot Gasly was on those hard compound tyres. Should have noted that. Gasly was never going to hold on to that position. So Esteban Ocon now looking likely to gain a point thanks to Kimi Antonelli's 15-second time penalty. Oscar Piastri, though, has been comfortably at the front of this Grand Prix. And for all the times we've said if, buts and maybes, for every question that we've asked of Oscar Piastri, the various safety car restarts, virtual safety cars, battles with his teammate, he's come out perfectly every single time. And it is the victory of a world champion. He is going to lead the championship by 34 points at the end of this Grand Prix. And this is the kind of performance that does indeed win you championships. Lando Norris so unlucky, though, to not finish in P2. I know he hasn't had the pace of Piastri. I know he hasn't been able to battle with him today, but he didn't deserve to take 0 points away from this weekend. Max Verstappen has also, as ever, put in one of the best performances on the grid. 2nd place for him, rewarded for just keeping out there, keeping consistent. Got up into 2nd place at the beginning of this Grand Prix, remember, but lost out to the might of the McLaren cars. Rewarded once again for sticking with it, though. Verstappen will get a 2nd place. Isaac Hadjar comes around the final couple of corners. Going to go on to the final lap in the podium places, and the Frenchman can't believe his luck. How his season has changed in 15 races. Australia, the heartbreak, the despondence, the fact that he came into the year probably the least hyped of the rookies, lost out to Bortoletto in the Formula 2 Championship last year, didn't have the experience of Ollie Behrman, wasn't as exciting and enthralling as Kimi Antonelli, the prospect of him going straight into a top team. But for me and for many others, this absolutely consolidates him as the best rookie of the season so far. He's done it, and it looks absolutely spectacular. George Russell in 4th place, Albon in 5th, Antonelli currently running in 6th, but again is going to fall considerably because of that safety car at the end, really hampering Antonelli's ability to escape away from anybody in the midfield. And here comes Oscar Piastri then, to come round the final couple of corners. Another win for Oscar Piastri. He's led it from the beginning. He's been dominant throughout the entire Grand Prix. He deserved it after qualifying ahead of his teammate, and he takes another win this season. 34 points now, the gap. Verstappen gets second place. Hadjar gets that third position. Hulkenberg got his first podium. Now we have Isaac Hadjar, the first of the midfield drivers to get onto the podium after the summer break. Will there be more? Will there be more? We'll have to wait and see. George Russell slots in. Albon finishes 5th. Antonelli falls all the way down to 16th place with that 15-second penalty. And Behrman gaining because of that. Behrman up into 6th. Stroll 7th. Alonso 9th. No, Alonso 8th, sorry. Tsunoda 9th. And Esteban Ocon does indeed inherit that final points scoring place. What an end to the Grand Prix that was. An absolute dagger to the heart of Lando Norris fans. Didn't deserve to fall all the way out of this Grand Prix. Was more than good enough for second place, but the engine failure and sometimes the luck just plays against you. I do feel for Lando Norris though. Be interested to see what he says after the Grand Prix, but let's focus on the positives. Let's focus on Isaac Hadjar getting his first podium in Formula One. He's going to take a trophy home after just 15 races in the sport. And Piastri on the radio. Very happy indeed. Yeah, good point actually. Relatively difficult weekend for Piastri last year. Comes into it this year. It just seems like a different animal, the Oscar Piastri of 2024 versus 2025. He's just completely upped his game. He was very, very quick for stints throughout 2024. I remember him and Charles Leclerc battling in Azerbaijan and being stunned by the pace of Piastri, but now he just looks like a completely different animal, doesn't he? Very, very solid from Oscar Piastri. Has put everything together so far this season, and with 9 races to go, has a considerable lead in the championship once again. Ollie Behrman as well in 6th place, just watching on board with him. What a weekend for Ollie Behrman. A 6th place finish in that Haas car. It really felt like the Haasers were dead and buried after that first safety car. They decided not to pit, and it all played around. The safety cars were dramatic for the midfield, to say the least. Sainz and Lawson will look at that 12th place and 13th place finish and know that really they could have been right up there. Lawson and Sainz could have finished, what, 6th, 7th, maybe even 5th in this Grand Prix. Really, really tough pill for them to swallow, especially considering Hadjar and Albon get a 3rd and a 5th. We'll have to wait and see what they say about that collision. And Carlos Sainz is going to be off to the stewards as well. Thank you guys so much for watching, though. I'm going to disappear at this point, and I'm going to be live in about sort of 4 or 5 minutes for a members-only post-race stream. If you are a member, make sure to join us. It'd be absolutely wonderful to see you. If you're not a member, then I will see you live again next weekend. We are live for the Monza Grand Prix, the home of Ferrari after a double DNF for them this weekend. Can they bounce back? I mean, they'll probably bring their classic Monza upgrade, but will it be enough? Obviously, we'll have to wait and see. Thank you guys so much for watching. Appreciate it. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I will see you in a week's time.